Who could sell his dignity? What she doesn't know is, my appetite now is much larger than she imagines. Chen An, business is a long game. Offending the Shen family won't do your Wangchao capital any good. President Shen, I have a bad habit. The more others tell me not to touch something, the more I want to try. The atmosphere between us instantly dropped to freezing point. Shen Roxy didn't touch the teacup. She stood up, her high heels making crisp clicking sounds on the floor. As she reached the door, she paused for a moment and tilted her head to look. I hope your bravado can last until next week's auction. The door closed. I put down the teacup, watching the roiling clouds outside the window. The Shen family's intervention is indeed a nuisance, but on the list in my head, next week Shen Ruoxi will fall into a capital chain crisis due to a failed overseas merger. This is my confidence. The hallway here was eerily quiet, the air filled with the smell of disinfectant. I pushed the door open and saw Su Jianguo lying in the hospital bed, an oxygen tube in his nose. After just half a month he had lost a lot of weight, and his hair had turned completely white. Su Qingying sat by the bed, peeling an apple with her head down. What are you doing here? To laugh at us. I'm not that free. I came to tell Chairman Su something. Su Jianguo slowly opened his eyes, his cloudy gaze focusing on me. He moved his lips, his voice hoarse, almost inaudible. I walked to the bedside, looking at the man who once threw a check in my face. You won. The Su group is gone. What more do you want? I want the property deed for the Su family's old factory land in Shenzhen. In exchange, I will cover all of your medical expenses and arrange a decent job for Su Qingying. The apple in Su Qingying's hand fell to the floor and rolled to my feet. She looked at me, her eyes filled with humiliation and resentment, but even more so, a sense of powerlessness. She knew the Su family now didn't even have the right to refuse. Chen En, must you buy up the last bit of our dignity? Dignity is earned, not given by others. Chairman Su, sign it. Su Jianguo tremblingly signed the document. I took back the document without giving them another glance. That old factory land, beneath it lies a future subway line that the government will plan into a central business district. In the previous life, the Su family sold it to the Zhao family, because they didn't know its value. In this life, this juicy piece of meat belongs to me. Report to Wangchao Capital's HR department tomorrow, to be my personal assistant. This is your last chance. I walked out of the hospital room. Su Qingying didn't follow. I knew she would come because she no longer had any other choice. Su Qingying wore a dark gray business suit, standing in front of my desk. She looked very constrained, her hands tightly gripping a file folder. I didn't look up, continuing to flip through the bid proposal in my hand. Assistant Su, make 10 copies of this document. At 3 p.m., go meet Shen Roxy with me. The Shen family's influence in Jingcheng is immense. Do you really want to confront her head-on? I put down my pen and looked up at her. There was still a lingering arrogance in her eyes, but more so, a compromise with reality. You only need to execute, you don't need to ask questions. The atmosphere at the afternoon auction was extremely tense. Shen Ruoxi sat on the left with her team, everyone looking determined to win. I sat on the right, behind me, only Su Qingying followed. When the host announced the start of the auction, Shen Ruoxi made an extremely high bid. President Chen, are you still going to follow this price? I won't follow. But I suggest President Shen take her secretary's call first. Shen Ruoxi frowned. Her secretary hurried in and whispered a few words in her ear. Shen Ruoxi's face immediately turned pale. I remember very clearly, just 10 minutes ago, the Shen family's merger in Europe was urgently halted due to regulatory violations. Their capital chain had been broken. You did this? I just knew the outcome. In advance, President Shen, if the Shen family can't produce the money now, then I won't be polite about this project. I raised my paddle and made a bid slightly lower than the Shen family's. The whole hall was in an uproar. Shen Ruoxi stared at me, her gaze as if wanting to flay me alive. Su Qingying stood behind me, completely stunned. Perhaps this was the first time she had seen that a battle in the business world could be so cruel and precise. After the auction ended, I stepped out of the elevator and found Shen Roxy leaning against my car door. She looked a little pathetic, her usually neat hair slightly disheveled. She held a cigarette in her hand, but it wasn't lit. Chen An, who on earth are you? A kid in his 20s? Can't possibly have such vision and methods. Who am I? It doesn't matter. What's important is Director Shen needs a sum of money right now to fill the hole in Europe. He suddenly raised his head to look at me. His eyes were full of vigilance. His most secret crisis was casually spoken by me. I walked in front of him, took the cigarette from his hand and casually tossed it into the trash. The Xian family's foundation in Jingcheng is very deep. I don't want to fight a life-or-death battle with you. I want control of all the artificial intelligence laboratories in the south. In exchange, I will inject 5 billion in capital to help you overcome this difficulty. You're taking advantage of a crisis. That's right. But Director Shen should know very well. Besides me, no one else dares to invest in you at this moment. Shen Ruoxi was silent for a long time. He is a smart person, He knows which is more important between pride and survival. He looked at me, a flash of complex emotion passed through his eyes. There was hatred, but more than that, an indescribable awe. It's a deal. But I have one condition. I want to buy shares in Dynasty Capital. Fine. But you can only receive dividends. You cannot participate in decision-making. I opened the car door and motioned for Su Qingying to get in. Su Qingying looked at Shen Ruoxi, then looked back at me. Her eyes were filled with shock. She once thought Shen Ruoxi was an invincible legend. But in front of me, this legend crumbled in less than an hour. The Shanghai Bund at night was unrealistically beautiful. I sat at the table. Opposite me was Su Qingying. She worked very hard today. She even proactively worked overtime, helping me organize the documents for the Shen family's laboratory. She is now more and more like a qualified assistant, not the pampered young lady from before. Chen An, thank you for my father's medical expenses and for showing me all this today. No need to thank me. This is your payment for your works, Su Qingying. In this world, weakness is the original sin. She said nothing, just quietly looked out at the river. I know what she's thinking. She's thinking, if she had treated me a little better 3 years ago, would the current outcome be different? But in my heart, I knew it wouldn't. Obtaining the Shen family's laboratory means I have secured a ticket into the field of artificial intelligence. I ordered a bottle of red wine from the Zhao family to the Su family, and then taming the Shen family to become my partner. The events of this past half-month have been more spectacular than the 10 years of my previous life. Will you continue to target the Su family in the future? The Su family is no longer worthy of being my target. My goal is the vast sea of stars. I raised my wine glass and drank it all in one go. Su Qingying looked at me. Her eyes held emotion she never had before, but I no longer cared. I stood up and adjusted my suit, preparing to face tomorrow's trading session. My dynasty has only just laid its foundation. In the laboratory, hundreds of servers emitted a low hum. This place originally belonged to the Shen family, but now it bears the label of Dynasty Capital. I looked at the dancing data on the screen, knowing very well in my heart, these lines of code are the gold mine for the next 10 years. Su Qingying walked over, holding a stack of reports. Her movements were much quicker than before. It's just that a hint of confusion still flickered in her eyes from time to time. Co Chen, the chief scientist, Dr. Lin, wants to see you. He is very unhappy about you drastically cutting the budget for traditional research. Let him in. Not long after, a gray-haired old man angrily pushed the door and entered. Chen An, do you even understand scientific research? You're pouring all the funding into neural networks. That's a dead end. Dr. Lin, in my world there are no dead ends, only the fastest path. I casually wrote a few core formulas on the whiteboard. This is stuff that won't be published for another 13 years. Deep learning algorithms? Dr. Lin's previously flushed face immediately stiffened. He stared intently at the whiteboard. His breathing began to quicken. How is this possible? How did you come up with this logic? I am a businessman. I only look at results. Just do as I say. Within 3 months, I want to see Yuan Xingqi. Dr. Lin looked at me as if I were a monster. In the end, he left with the formulas without another word. Su Qingying stood beside me, her eyes filled with awe. She probably feels like there's nothing I don't know, but I know this is just the advantage of foresight. After settling the A matter, I immediately turned my attention to new energy vehicles. In my previous life, this industry created countless trillion-dollar legends. Today, I came here to get the most crucial lithium mining license. The hall was filled with bigwigs. Shen Ruoxi also came. He had regained his former sharp demeanor, chatting with a few foreign businessmen. Co Chen, you're not even done with I yet, and you already want to get into the battery business. Such great ambition, you might bite off more than you can chew. If you don't try, Director Shen, how will you know? By the way, has the Shen family's hole in Europe been filled yet? Shen Ruoxi's expression stiffened slightly. Then, as if nothing happened, he raised his wine glass. He is now my partner, and also my most dangerous rival. A delicate balance is maintained between us. Next, we will announce the company that has won the priority mining rights for the Northwest Lithium Mine. It is Dynasty Capital. The entire hall was in an uproar. Countless eyes turned to me like spotlights. The wine glass in Shen Ruoxi's hand trembled slightly. He looked at me in disbelief. He had clearly allied with 3 other tycoons to corner me, but he never expected that. I'd already signed an industrial support agreement directly with the local government. When did you go to the Northwest? My men have been tracking your schedule every day. Director Shen, tracking my car is useless. You should be tracking my heart. I led Su Qingying and strode onto the stage. Su Qingying followed me closely. Today she wore a neat suit, helping me block the reporters trying to surround me. I looked at the scheming faces below the stage. There was only one thought in my mind. I have laid this foundation firmly. Having secured the lithium mine, I returned to Yuncheng to handle one last personal matter. The Su family's old house had been sealed. Su Jungwo was banned from leaving the country due to suspicion of economic crimes. He could only stay in the old house's annex. I pushed open the door. A musty smell hit my face. Su Jungwo sat in a wheelchair. His eyes stared blankly out the window. You still came? Are you here to see if I'm dead yet? I came to get back the old things I once gave to King Ying. I pointed to a rusty iron box in the corner. Inside were the gifts that I, in my past life, had saved up for 3 years to buy for Su Qingying. Although they weren't valuable, they were proof of my past foolishness. Su Qingying stood at the door, looking at that box. The rims of her eyes were red. Shen An, I've always kept those things. I didn't throw them away. Keeping them is meaningless now. Chairman Su, the money you owed the bank, I've already helped you pay it all off. Su Jungwo suddenly turned his head to look at me. A glimmer of hope flashed in his eyes, but it was quickly extinguished. He knew I didn't do it out of kindness, but to completely sever all karma with the Su family. From now on, you and the Su group have nothing to do with each other anymore. King Ying will stay and work in Modu. Every month, I will pay her enough to support you. I picked up the heavy iron box and walked out of the courtyard without looking back. Su Qingying chased me to the door, wanting to say something, but in the end, she didn't. I threw the box into a roadside trash can and watched as the garbage truck carried it away. At that moment, I felt some kind of shackle in my body completely shatter.